What's up guys, my name is Your Heroes and welcome back to more Gates of Hell. Now yes, I know, another video straight after yesterday's video. You must be insane. I am insane. And today we are going to be talking about the new Soviet/Russian late war infantry. Now if you haven't checked out the German one, which I did yesterday, then make sure you go check out, which will be linked in the description down below on the top right hand of your screen right now. Ignore the dog in the background. I know it is annoying, but hopefully I might be able to fix it when she's dead. I'm joking. Or jokes. Anyways, I have got together all the new squads that I think are brand new. Now there might be one or two that I might be missing, but if there is, then let me know in the comments down below. But these I think are the ones that are brand new to me. And the first thing I want to talk about in this is the tech tree, the research tree. And it is absolutely, mental. Look at this. Starting from, these are all the squads that I have researched. I'm able to research. And you can see that it's actually got a sidebar so you can pull to the side. Same as the Germans. But I feel like this is actually a lot bigger than the Germans. It's just crazy to think that this is the kind of sort of management that is okay. This is really not okay. It's messy. It's really not good. Gatesville need to fix this for all nations. I'm going to say it in every single video that I release for a nation. Please fix this. It's so messy. It's so untidy. And I just think if you look at the tank section down below, you can see how the tank section they have is like in really nice, neatly ordered here with all the tanks. It's just, you see with the T60s, the KV1s, the T34s, it's all nicely real done. And then look at the infantry. It's just a complete mess. Lines going everywhere. It just needs to be fixed. So a big kind of cry for help there, Gatesville War Studios. Please gift this, have a look at this, refix it, do anything just to make it a more simpler way for new community members to actually look at this, because it's just not on, and I just think it's annoying. Anyway, let's move on to the new units on this, and we're starting off with these three units, which are all called the NKVD. So you've got the NKVD recon unit, the NKVD sapper squad, and you've got the NVKD rifle squad. So let's talk about their stamina, let's talk about their regeneration, their rifles that they're carrying, and all sorts of that, which I actually didn't do with the Germans, which I'm slightly annoyed at. I didn't talk about, their health, their regeneration and all that. So if you do want to, I'm sorry I did kind of miss that, but you're able to kind of look at it from the actual statistics right here. But let's start off with the NVKD Recon Squad. So these guys cost 95 manpower and they hold up 13 men. They basically take up 13 slots of men. And these guys carry your standard general rifles, except from two of them that carry your PPSHs. We have one there, and then we actually have another one right here, and then the rest of them carry your standard mountain Nagant. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that or even say that, but you can see they're standard. They're very much meant for, I guess, I feel like they're kind of like definitely your recon, quite a big squad for recon squad, I have to say. But if we look at their regeneration, we can see that their regeneration, so their base hit points is 150, with their regeneration being 0.1. That is terrible. So what this means is that if your guys get shot, they're going to take a very, very long time to regain their health back to 150 hit points again. So this is probably one of the most awful regenerations I've ever seen, and it's not good. Their stamina though is very good because they are, recon squads, so they're quite light in what they wear and what they handle. They have very good regeneration of building up their stamina again, considering the stamina is already quite high at 225. So having that regeneration quite high as well is really, really good. A really kind of good starter, infantry. But yeah, this is something if you kind of want to do a wee bit of a scouting mission. Moving on to the next one, which is called the NKVD's Sapper Squad. So these guys, you can tell, are a lot different to their counterparts. You can see their uniforms are different, but you can see that they're actually all of them do carry rifle squads of the Mosin. I'm not going to pronounce that second part of the name because I'm absolutely butchering it. But if we look at their regeneration here, they have 200 hit points, so it's better than a recon squad. The regeneration is a lot better at 2.5, so they're able to regen their 200 hit points back really quickly if they get shot. Their although they are slightly slower with being 125 stamina, so slower than your recon squad, but the regeneration is probably just as quick as 3.0, so they're able to regain that 125 stamina really quickly, but it just means they can't run as far, which is kind of annoying. But then again, they are carrying a lot probably heavier rifles. You can see that their uniforms, you know, are long, so they're quite heavy as well, with, you know, if they're carrying, you know, a lot of maybe grenades and, you know, a water bottle and a shovel, looks like maybe a couple things at the back there, looks like on the utility belt. But these guys are actually quite an all-well-round good squad as well, because they do have an engineer as well, which does mean that you could, if you look at the engineer here, this is your engineer, so you're able to kind of build sandbags, build trench holes, and it's kind of a good place to kind of dig yourself in for a defensive position or an offensive, depending your situation as well. So really, really good squad there. Moving on to the next one, which is called the NKVD Rifle Squad. So these guys have got, oh sorry, I forgot to even mention in the last one, in the Sapper Squad, these guys cost 89 manpower and they've got 11 men, so slightly cheaper than the Recon Squad, and I do actually think it's better than the Recon Squad, considering that it's got an engineer as well, so really kind of weigh up the positives there. Although these guys, the Recon Squad, are faster and, you know, moving quicker around the battlefield, but I still think I would pick the Sapper Squad over the Recon Squad. Next, we're moving on to the Rifle Squad. Now, these guys cost 128 manpower, so a lot more expensive than the other two, and they have 15 soldiers, so again, a lot more, so it's taking up more of your space within your echelons here, as I call them. So these guys carry, again, you're carrying your standard Mosin rifles. Now, if we look at them, because they are really expensive, now they do come, that means they do come with a wee bit of downfall, such as not their stamina, which is actually the same as the Sapper Squad, so nothing really too bad there. Their regeneration is the same as the Sapper. Their base, you know, their base hit points the same as the Sapper. The regeneration though is amazing at 2.5. That is really good, and because, you know, they're standard riflemen, they are prepared, you know, to get shot, you know, and to rebuild that generation really quickly. So I really do love this, and that's probably why it's so expensive, because the regeneration is better than the Sapper and the Recon Squad. So really happy about that, I have to say. Actually, sorry, it's not better regeneration for Sama, it's the same for your hit points, sorry. But it is more expensive because you get a couple more guys and they're all kind of trained really well. So I would still probably go for the Sapper Squad, to be fair, considering that it is a lot cheaper and it is less, you know, taking up less space in your echelon, in your space here, considering the Sappers have 11 men and the Rifle Squad have 15 men, although these guys are probably a lot more prepared for action than the Sapper Squad. But then again, it is really up to you whether you want, you know, numbers, or you want, if you're worried about budget. If you're worrying about budget wise, go for the Sappers. If you want to go for numbers wise, then go for the Rifle Squad. So that is the 3 NKVDs. Overall, I would, out of 3 of them, I would go for the Sapper Squad, just because it's got the engineer. They're all run kind of balanced in defensive and offensive section, and they're kind of, you know, the mid-rate, they're the cheapest as well in being able to do everything, which I think is great. Moving on to the next one, which is called the Veteran Partisans Squad 1944. So these guys cost 136 manpower with 11 men. I think that's quite overpriced, but if you look at their manpower, and there you can see that there is a total of, you know, 11, as I said, but one of them is an MG operator at the end, which carries, I believe that is an MG42, and then one of them being the squad leader, which carries, you know, your PPSH, where the rest of them carries your, you know, your standard Mosin. Actually, sorry, wrong. All of them are carrying PPSHs, I believe. Sorry, MP40s. Oh my gosh, I'm getting my guns mixed up. I'm sure a lot of you are now shouting at the screen now, but there's a mixture of actually riflemen's rifle guns and these little machine guns. So you can see these are your standard Mosin, and some of them actually do have, you know, your Panzerfaust 60. Why is it a Panzerfaust? Wait, this isn't Germans. Did they steal? The Soviets obviously stole it. This is a Panzerfaust on a Russian Soviets. I don't know if that's maybe a glitch or something, but let me know in the comments down below if that's actually right. But I don't feel like, I thought Panzerfausts were Germans, it seems like the Soviets are carrying, but that doesn't really make much sense. But kind of talking about their main hit points themselves, you can see that their regeneration is absolutely garbage at 0.3, and even then it doesn't get an increase. Their base though, hit points, is 230, so that's actually really good. Out of the first three, it's absolutely amazing. Their stamina is rubbish at 162. It's not bad, but it's not great. With the regeneration being at 3.9, which is the highest I've seen, which is absolutely amazing. So I really do love that. But it's the fact that they have a 0.3 regeneration for when they get shot, you know, trying to regain that health again, is really bad. I mean, that means that they're easily killed, you know, when they're trying to, you know, heal again. But I would make sure you always have a bandage on these guys so you can heal them up automatically instead of just waiting for them to regenerate their health back. But overall, I think this is a decent squad. Nothing too bad about them. I think they're just quite pricey for what they are for being 136 for 11 men. But with what you get for kind of all balanced over round, I can fight 80, you know, tanks, lightly armored tanks, and also armored vehicles, as well as kind of your offensive and defensive abilities. So overall, I think this is quite a balanced but a kind of expensive little, you know, group here. Next one is your veteran partisan squad, SMG squad 1944. So these guys, of course, as it says in the name, these guys are SMGs, so they're all carrying your, you know, your SMGs. They're all carrying your MP40s or some sort of light machine guns, whereas the commander is carrying your PPSH, and the rest of them are carrying, of course, your MP40s. Now, these guys are, I have to say, we're about to have a look at them, that their regeneration is again the same, 230 with 162 stamina. The regeneration is the same with a rubbish 0.3 and amazing regeneration of stamina being 3.9. So overall, I think these two squads are actually really balanced, and the only difference is that one's an SMG squad and the other isn't. But I think if you're really going for this, I mean, this is the Partisans SMG are actually a lot cheaper, being 116 manpower, whereas and it's still 11 men. If I'm going to pick two, I'm going to have to go for the SMG squad. They're cheaper, but they're also, I would say they're more reliable. They're not really good at long range, considering none of them have any rifles, but for short range and, you know, for your encounters, I would say it's really, really good. And the only thing that just really holds them back is just their stamina, their regeneration on their HP, really holding them back. But I would really pick the SMG veteran partisans over just the regular one. So just useful tip for you there. Moving on to the next one, which is your Recon Squad 1944. Now, your Recon Squad is kind of like your first Recon Squad with the NKVD, but I think there's now only, with these there is 11 guys. Actually, this does not look like 11 guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, there's 6 of them. I don't know why it says oh wait, I was looking at a wrong one. No, it still says it takes up 11 manpower, even though there's 6 of them. I think that should be changed. I think the little helmet should be based on how many soldiers there actually is, instead of, you know, just basing it on a random price tag. But it is one of the cheaper ones, being 6-7 manpower. Overall, these are just a recon squad. Nothing, I would say that their regeneration is awful with 0.1, with their stamina being amazing, regeneration of 3.0, and their overall general stamina is amazing, 225, with their H being slightly lower than regular riflemen because they are recon, so they're not meant to really kind of go in a dogfight. They're meant to kind of just scout and just get a wee bit of recon, then fall back for your main infantry to attack. So overall, I would say that this is not bad, but I would probably go with the NKVD ones, just because, I don't know, depending, they're both really the same, except that this squad is actually a lot bigger. I would say they're not the same, but this squad is just bigger and it's just better, I would say. So if you want to really go for that one, just for, you know, not getting spotted and trying not to manage as many men, go just for the regular recon squad. But if you're wanting to go for the other one with bigger squad, you know, where you're feeling a little bit more secure, then go for the NKVD ones. Moving on to the next one, which is the Sapper Squad 1944. Now, the Sapper Squad, again, very similar to your NKVD ones. This time, one is actually got a flamethrower here. You can see it's a flamer infantry. It looks like a regular rifle, but actually it is a flamethrower. Although something that I don't really like is not like carrying a mask like the Germans are, but obviously The Soviets might have not had, you know, the gas masks maybe at the time of them, but that's the only difference, is that the NKVT ones didn't have a flamer. I believe it had a machine gun, whereas this one actually has a flamer, which is good for your kind of close quarters. And if you're getting surrounded or you want to light up any tanks, then you can shoot its engine or set the flamer to the tank and shoot its engine or target its engine. So that means you can kind of expose it and hopefully maybe capture it or kill it off. But overall, I would say this is quite an expensive squad. Again, their HP is 200, so quite high, which is good. Their regeneration is amazing at 2.5, really good. With their even stamina better being at 3.0, but their stamina overall generally is terrible with only 125, so they're quite slow. You know, they'll run out of, when you make them run, they'll probably stop, you know, a couple seconds afterwards. But they're able to regenerate that stamina really quickly, which is really awesome. So overall, I would say this is a good balance of HP and stamina for regeneration, and just overall, you know, the way it's balanced out. So I really do like it. And the sappers, one of them is an actual engineer. Some of them are, you know, standard riflemen. Some of them are tiny little machine gunners. I forgot what you call them. But yes, good overall, a good really balance. These guys cost 171 manpower with 17 men, with 17, men taking up the echelon spot. I forgot the name of it. But yeah, I think this is a really just squad. Quite expensive, I have to say, but I think with what you get, I think it is actually worth it. To the rifle squad, 1944. Now these guys, 1943. Now these guys, if you compare them just to the heavy rifleman squad, because I've got that as well for 1943, and you've got a rifle squad in 1944. If you just compare the two of them, you can also see the difference that the MG, squad is literally a heavy rifle. It means that, they're now carrying your SVT 40s, whereas your regular squad is just carrying your Mosin. So you can see there's an instant, upgrade in firepower. And if you look at their stamina as well, it'll be very much the same, where their HP are the same. Yeah, their HP and their stamina will be actually the same. So their HP being 200, their stamina being 125, which is actually really low, one of the slowest I've ever seen. But that's because they're carrying big, modern machine guns at the time, and that makes them slower. But the regeneration is good, but the regeneration for their HP is terrible considering they're normal riflemen, so I think that should be higher. But then again, it's not too bad. Now, if you look at the prices for these guys, the rifle squad of 1943 is 119 manpower with 12 men, and the heavy rifle squad is 151 manpower with 13 men. So it is a lot more expensive, the heavy rifle squad. So if you kind of don't have enough money for it, you're budgeting wise, go for the rifleman. But if you kind of want to have an advantage, kind of more of an upgrade in the battlefield, then go for the heavy rifle squads. They're more expensive, and it does cost one more man, so it takes up tiny wee bit more space, but that space really does count for everything. And then you got the heavy rifle squads of 1944, where these guys are naturally equipped with your SVT 40s, and one carrying a PPSH, that'll be the commander, of course, and the rest, and I believe there's one carrying, actually all of them are carrying your SVTs 40, where one is actually carrying a machine gun of the DP27. I was about to call that MG42, but I realized it looks like a different shape, so don't worry, I managed to catch that out. These guys cost 100 manpower with 10 men. That is absolutely amazing. I would actually pick these guys over the regular rifle squad, and possibly even the heavy lifter squad, but because of how good these guys are in diverse wise, I would still pick that as first choice. But I would pick the the rifle squad of 1944 over the 1943 one. It baffles me why that the 1943 rifle squad is more expensive than the rifle squad of 1944, considering this is only 100 manpower and the other one is 119 manpower. So I don't quite get that, and why it is. But then again, it doesn't really make much sense. But I would definitely pick the 1944 one over the 1943 one. Skipping along a wee bit to the next one, which is the SMG squad 1943, and you've also got the heavy SMG squad 1943. So actually, I think I got two the same. Yeah, I got two the same. I didn't mean to get two the same. But if we look at these guys have an HP of 200, with stamina being 125 being terrible, with the regeneration being amazing at 3.0, and the regeneration of the HP being absolutely terrible, 0.1. I really don't get the point of why regular, like, good squads have a regeneration of so bad, like their HP. I mean, they're meant to be, you know, dogfighting these guys, and the fact they have a regeneration HP of 0.1 doesn't really make sense to me. But if we look at the prices of these squad, sorry, one's a SMG squad, one's a heavy MGC. Sorry, I thought they were the same. They're not. So one's of course carrying your regular, your PPSH 43. Actually, I think all of these guys do. Yeah, all of these guys do carry your PPSH. And the prices wise, if you look at them, that the first one, your SMG squad 1943 costs 132 manpower with 18 men, whereas the heavy SMG squad costs 159 power with 80 men. So it's only the price comparison which is slightly more expensive, the heavy SMG. I would say if you want to go for one of them, I would probably, again, budget wise, if you want to keep it cheap within, within money wise, then go for the SMG squad. But if you want to go for, if you want to spend a wee bit more and you can afford it, then go for the heavy SMG. For manpower wise, it doesn't matter because they're both 18 men, so that won't make a difference wise. But if you want to go for that, I would suggest going for the heavy SMG one. Next one is your SMG squad 1944. So the difference is that the SMG squad 1944 is that it's a lot cheaper, with being 109 manpower with 14 men. I feel like that little thing there, it's not manpower, it's something else. I feel like I've got that wrong. If I have, then I'm really, really sorry. But it's a lot cheaper. I don't know why they're putting the 1943 as more expensive as the 1944 one. If anybody knows that, then let me know in the comments. Beside that, it's maybe just a slightly bigger group. That's maybe why, that there's more men. But even then, if you look at these guys, all of them are carrying your PPSHs 24, whereas the regular ones here are actually carrying all the same. So if you really want to go for, it really depends on squad size. If you want a bigger squad, then go for the 1943 one, or if you kind of like a controlled kind of smaller group, then go for the cheaper one, as it is, cheaper in manpower, also cheaper in men, with only being 14 compared to 18. Your next one is the Cavalry Rifle Squad 1944. So these guys cost 155 manpower with 16 men, and their HP is absolutely amazing, being at 300 hit points, and their stamina being amazing as well at 200. The regeneration for the stamina is outrageously good at 4.5. That is the quickest and the highest I've ever seen a regeneration grow. But their stamina, again, regeneration awful, being at 0.1. But I think this is kind of fair considering how kind of balanced this would make it, with again variations of different guns, one being an SVT 40, another one being a PPSH 43, and then the rest of them carrying your typical rifleman, with another one actually being a machine gunner of the DP 27. So I would say overall this is a very balanced, good looking squad. I would say it's really worth it for 155 manpower or points or whatever it is, and 16 men. I think it's quite a good balance. I'd maybe drop the price a wee bit to maybe 150, 148, but I think overall it's quite good, and I do like it. The next one we have here is the first mobility one, I guess, is the Mount. I put MOT, I think stands for Mountain or Mount Elite Guards Rifle Squads 1944. Now these guys have come with your transport truck, which is really good to get around the battlefield. But if we look at their main hit points as well, you can see that they have amazing hit points of 345 because they are more elite, with a stamina of amazing 260, with their regeneration of being 5.8. Now that is the biggest I've ever seen. That is the massive regeneration of your stamina. They're able, so if they run out of stamina or run, and then they get out of breath, they're able to build it up in seconds, which is amazing, with their regeneration being a disappointing 0.3, but their HP should be big enough to basically hold themselves, so they don't basically need to get a point where they need to kind of auto regenerate. So I really do like that. And their weaponry is wise, carrying your I think it's a Mosin. I think that is, yeah, you're not really good Mosin considering how elite these guys are, not really that good. And then kind of going on to your PPSHs, a few of them. But overall, it's a really good one where this one, another guy carrying DP27, so there's actually a good range of different weapons here, but they're quite old, I have to say, considering there's a Mosin. I think they would have done better with an FVT, considering the name Elite is quite important. The fact they've got Mosin doesn't seem that they're elite. They should be with having the SVT rifles. Moving on to the next one, which is the same, but this time it's just with SMGs. The hit points I think are most likely going to be the same as well. If we have a look, yep, 345 amazing, 260 amazing, regeneration of the HP disappointing, with the regeneration of stamina being absolutely incredible. I just think with the amount of hit points that they have, I think this is a fair assumption to say that they don't really need that. It's good to have. They have a bad regeneration as it is kind of, they have such a big hit points anyway, so really good there. Moving on to our next one, which is the Guards Cavalry Squad. So these guys cost 192 manpower, so really expensive with being 16 men. And I don't think they're really that worth it for what you get. I know you get some really good kind of modern up-to-date guns at the time with the FVTs and the PPSHs, but I think with being so expensive, I don't think they're that worth it. If we look at their hit points and their stamina, you can see they have 345 and 260 as well HP, amazing HP and stamina, again with the same disappointing regeneration of 0.3, but the amazing regeneration of 5.8 with your stamina. But again, I'm backing myself up by saying that it's fair to have the assumption of 0.3 as your regeneration because of how big their base hit points are. So overall, not a great squad, too expensive. I would pick another squad if I were you. Next one is your Guards Marine Rifle Squad 1944. So these guys have to be one of the more expensive units in the game, being 220 manpower with 18 men. With what you get with them, it's kind of disappointing with the amount of soldiers you get, because you only get 9 men, being expensive, but the amount of armament these guys have is amazing. So they're carrying a Panzerfaust 60, again doesn't make much sense. Actually 2 of them are, which is amazing, and one of them carrying your DP27, and then a selection of your Mosins and your typical commander having the PPSH 43, so quite a fair assumption. I just think they're stupidly ridiculously over expensive for what you get, considering there's similar squads who have these type of armaments, except the only difference is that there's now 2 guys carrying Panzerfaust 60, whereas the other one only carried one Panzerfaust 60. So I really think this is a really overpriced and really disappointing squad, and I would avoid this squad at all costs. Going on to now the Mountain Cavalier Squad, or Cavalry Squad 1944. So these guys cost 188 manpower with 14 men, so that's quite cheap, that's quite good. And you get 7 men out of them, 1 carrying your DP27 and 2 of them carrying PPSH 27s, and the rest of them carrying your Mosins, or PPSH 43, or whatever it's called. The rest of them are carrying, as I said, Mosins, which is not that great. If we look at their hit points manpower, 375, the biggest hit points I've ever seen, with the regeneration being kind of accurate considering the amount of massive hit points they have. The stamina being good, I've seen better with 350, but 300 is still good with actually the biggest regeneration I've seen of 7.5, and I've said that a couple of days, but I actually haven't seen the biggest one yet, but this is the biggest I've seen. It is 7.5 regeneration. That will quickly get your guys run again in absolute seconds. I absolutely love that. Huge boost, especially with the kind of a mid to disappointing range stamina of 300, so I really do like how they've made up for that. Moving on next to the NKVD Mountain Rifle Squad. Now these are different actually, because you think we've already covered all the NKVDs, but there's actually one more NKVD squad, but these are the Mountain Rifle Squads. So if we have a look at these guys cost 182 manpower, being 14 men, so not actually too bad, and I believe you get 7 men, which is actually quite expensive considering it costs, it takes up 14 space in your echelon here. 2 of them carrying your PPSHs, actually 3 of them, sorry, 1 carrying your DP27 and the rest carrying your Mosin. Actually that's a SVT, sorry. SVT rifle and the other 2 carrying your standard Mosin rifles. Quite a good balance, but if we have a look at their HP, your stats, sorry, amazing HP, okay, no stamina, but this time their regeneration is better than the last one, is of 1.5. That's still very disappointing, but again, for the hit points they have, it's very good. And I'm wondering why they got 1.5 instead of the usual 0.1, 0.3, because of how high their hit points are. So let me know in the comments why that is. But overall, I think this is an overall good balanced squad. I still think it's a wee bit overpriced, again, for the amount of men you get. It's very little. I think it's like, I counted like 7 or 9 men, and it's very disappointing and very expensive. But I do like the fact that it cost a low amount of space that you get for it, so really, really good. Moving on next to the Guards SMG Squad 1944. So these guys cost 120 manpower with being 11 helmets or men, which is kind of good, which is the cheapest I've seen so far. I know there is cheaper, but you've got guys carrying your, or commander carrying, of course, your PPSH, with actually all of them I believe carrying, oh no, there's 2 of them carrying your SVTs and the rest of them carrying your Mosin, with one being your DP27. If we look at the hit points of these guys, they've got an alright, so an HP kind of disappointing of 230, not great, but you can understand why they're there, with a disappointing stamina of 162, but the regeneration being really good of 3.9, and their disappointing regeneration for the HP of 0.3. I think that should be at least 1.5 or 1.6 considering how low the HP are in these guys, and knowing that you get taken out by a sniper or an RPG or flamer, this is really disappointing, and that regeneration number should be a lot higher. These guys are good, a good mix of different range of weapons. And they're relatively cheap as well, as 126. I think it's still a wee bit expensive, maybe put it down to 118 manpower, just I think that would make it slightly more fair. But overall, I think it's good, really, really good. Moving on to our last one, actually I think that's all of them. Yep, that is all of them, guys. These last 2 I've already covered. So there you go, guys. That is all of the new late war squad infantry covered for the Soviets/Russians. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you're new. And guys, I'm going to try and keep pushing out content for the rest of the summer, just because I have time, you know, through it. I'm doing a wee holiday, and I'm also moving house in the next couple of weeks, so I'm going to try and keep this content going, because I'm really now getting into the groove of things, and I think it could really be good for kind of my confidence with, you know, bring back, you know, YouTube again, and also just for you guys as well, just so you can see that I am hopefully going to bring out content. But guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching and our support, and I will see you in the next video. See you later, and goodbye.